Okay, this is a quick review of the Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe, 8 Tales of Terror from the Scholastic Book Club for $1. The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as best I could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You who so well know the nature of my soul will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitely settled, but the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. So the basic breakdown of this paragraph is basically to say, in the 1,000 injuries of Fortunato, that's basically saying somebody has hurt me, and this man is Fortunato. I took it as much as I could, but when he ventured upon insults, so now he's not only injuring me, but he insults me as well, I vowed revenge. You who so well know the nature of my soul will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. Now, even though he vowed revenge, he never really said so. He just kind of embarked upon the actions to do so, the reasoning being because if he gets hurt in the process of administering his revenge, that in itself would not be revenge. It would be sacrificing himself for the cause of retribution. So, at length I would be avenged. He was going to embark upon a long-term campaign of vengeance. This was a point definitely settled, but the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. That means if I'm going to punish this guy, I cannot punish it and be punished myself. If there are consequences to me, that is not revenge. That is self-sacrifice. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. So basically, if the guy just dies, but you don't let him know, hey, you know what, I got you, man, then what happens there is not truly revenge. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. That paragraph basically discusses how I'd never made him think I was going to hurt him. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, so I really wanted him to just feel I was still friendly with him. But the smile now was because I was thinking about his end. He had a weak point, this Fortunato. Although in other regards he was a man to be respected and even feared, he prided himself on his connoisseurship in wine. Few Italians have the true virtuoso spirit. For the most part, their enthusiasm is adopted to suit the time and opportunity, to practice imposture upon the British and Austrian millionaires. In painting and gemmery, Fortunato, like his countrymen, was a quack, but in the matter of old wines, he was sincere. In this respect, I did not differ from him materially. I was skillful in the Italian vintages myself, and bought largely whenever I could. So in that paragraph, the summary is basically saying, you know, he thinks this Fortunato, his weakness is that he's prideful, and he thinks that his understanding of wine and all the other finer things in life, he was not very good at painting and gems, but he was very good at wines. And so he figured, okay, since we both know wines pretty well, there's my way in on trying to get this guy. So it was about dusk one evening during the supreme madness of the carnival season that I encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much. The man wore motley. He had on a tight-fitting party-striped dress, and his head was surmounted by the conical cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkably well you are looking today. But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts." "How?" said he. "Amontillado? A pipe? Impossible! And in the middle of the carnival?" I have my doubts, I replied, and I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain. Amontillado! I have my doubts. Amontillado! And I must satisfy them. Amontillado! As you are enraged, I am on my way to Lucchesi. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me. Lucchesi cannot tell Amontillado from sherry, and yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own. Aye, come, let us go. Whither? To your vaults. My friend, no, I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have an engagement, Lucchesi. I have no engagement. Come. My friend, no, it is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted. The vaults are insufferably damp. They are encrusted with nitre. Let us go nonetheless. Your cold is merely nothing. Amontillado, you have been imposed upon, and as for Lucchesi, he cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado. Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm, putting on a mask of black silk and drawing a roquelaire closely around my person. I suffered him to hurry me to his palazzo. So, basically, what they're saying there is he's trying to draw him in with some intellectual bait, basically saying, I've gotten some Amontillado, and that's a certain type of wine, and they both know that this is not something that should be available so easily during Carnival. But now, he's going to lure him into a place where he can do some damage. So, thus speaking, Fortunato... Okay, There were no attendants at home. They had absconded to make merry in honor of the time. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, one and all, as soon as my back was turned. So basically, everyone in their house had left, but he basically told them, well, don't leave, I won't be home. And he told all his servants that. They all left, of course, because he knew that they would. But by saying that, it gave him an alibi. And so they shouldn't have any reason to doubt that he was sincere. And if the police said, hey, your boss, was he here? They would say, no, of course not. At the same time, they weren't there either. So I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, and giving one to Fortunato, I bowed him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led into the vaults. I passed down a long and winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the descent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. The pipe, said he. It is farther on, said I. But observe the white webwork which gleams from these cavern walls. He turned toward me, and looked into my eyes with 2 filmy orbs that distilled the rheum of intoxication. Nitre? He asked at length. Nitre, I replied. How long have you had that cough? My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. It is nothing, he said, at last. Come, I said with decision, we will go back. Your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy, as once I was. You are a man to be missed. For me, it is no matter. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there is Lucchesi. Enough, he said. The cough is a mere nothing. It will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough. True, I replied, and indeed I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution. A draught of this medoc will defend us from the damps. Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle, which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mould. Drink, I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly, while his bells jingled. I drink, he said, to the buried that repose around us, and I to your long life. He again took my arm, and we proceeded. These vaults, he said, are extensive, and I to your long life. How proper. The Montresors, I replied, were a great and numerous family. I forget your arms. A huge human foot d'or, In a field azure, the foot crushes a serpent, rampant, whose fangs are embedded in the heel. And the motto, Nemo me impune lecesset. Good, he said. The wine sparkled. Ooh. Oh, that was his. Okay, I kind of flipped the voices. That was the guy trying to do the revenge. The wine sparkled in his eyes and the bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the medic. We had passed through walls of piled bones, with casks and puncheons intermingling, into the inmost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Fortunato by an arm above the elbow. The nitre, I said. See, it increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We're below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back, ere it is too late. Your cough. It is nothing, he said. Let us go on. But first, another draught for the medic. I broke and reached him a flagon of de Grave. He emptied it at a breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upward with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. You do not comprehend, he said. Not I replied. Then you are not of the Brotherhood. How? You are not of the Masons. Yes, I said. Yes. You? Impossible. A Mason? A Mason, I replied. A sign, he said. It is this, I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my roquelaire. You jest, he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces. But let us proceed to the Amontillado. Be it so, I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak, and again offering him my arm. That was foreshadowing with the trowel. A trowel being used for bricklaying. Be it so, I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak, and I again offered him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and descending again, arrived at a deep crypt in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeaux rather to glow than flame. So things are happening here, and it's already the 12th minute. I'm not planning on going beyond 12, up. I have to stop at about 15 minutes in order to stop this video. But you get the idea that something is about to happen, and you should get this book if you're really interested. So this is kind of like a trailer. One of my favorite books, especially, the whole idea of the Amontillado and the drinking and getting him all dizzy. You kind of can figure out what's going to happen soon, but there's a few pages. It's not a long story. It's just enough to, get you excited. We got the Masons. Okay. So yeah, love this book. Love Edgar Allan Poe stories. His way of writing is very, very advanced. The words, the vocabulary, it really helps a lot if you're new to trying to discover the English language in its more formal, advanced levels. To have something as frightening or as, it's like exciting in a sense than you would usually see. So go ahead and give it a try.